on in. Should be a seat for everybody. We kind of did this, I think, backwards today, so I apologize. But probably best that my back is where it's at. I think we should have enough. Let's see if my math skills work out. Perfect. If y'all could face these name tags my direction, I'd appreciate it. Excellent, excellent. How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Everybody make it here all right? Just rocking and rolling. All right, guys, and we're starting now. Everybody's here. We can start now, I believe, and get rocking, and hopefully be able to get you out here a little early as well. What we're going to be doing tonight, we're going to be talking about some issues. What I really want to make certain of is that we all leave here. We can all be best of friends when we leave here, but we all do state our opinions while we're here. Robert, I might ask you a question, and you and Susan are going to disagree adamantly. I want you guys to direct that towards me, not towards each other, so that when we leave, we're all going to give ourselves a big high five and go have a beer together. But when you're here, I want to know the difference between what you think and what Susan thinks. That being said, Susan is not wrong. There's no wrong opinion. There's no wrong answer you can have tonight. I always say that my favorite football team is the Chicago Bulls. But here's the thing, Marissa. I don't want anybody laughing at me. I like the Bulls football team because I like the Bulls football team. Now, you might come and say, do you mean the Chicago Bears? Nope, I mean the Bulls, because to me, I'm right. And that's my favorite football team. I don't need anybody to correct me. All right? So when I'm telling you that the Bulls are great, this, that, and the other thing, and that Michael Jordan is still their best quarterback, that's what I believe. And so I'm right. Cool? And Marissa, you might like the Bears instead of the Bulls. That's fine. But you bring that to me. You direct it at me. All right? So all of that being said, I want us to be able to express our opinion, but I want all of those opinions to come at me instead of whomever you might disagree with, all right? The other thing is I'm going to be asking you a lot of different questions. I'm going to have you write some answers out, circle some answers, things of that nature, some of which you might say, hey, what do you mean by this question? If it talks about color, please describe your favorite color. You might say, well, it's blue. What do I need to do? But somebody might say, pastels. I like pastels. I'm going to be very cagey about trying to direct you to one of those answers. I just want, if blue is, you go, yeah, duh, that's the only answer. It's blue. It's the best color in the world. Great, write it down. You want to say pastels, super. You're not wrong either. So write that down. I'm not going to try to direct you towards one of those answers. All right? If you have questions, please, 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 we're going to be going through some sheets. Don't turn any of the pages until I ask you to. But when you do, if you have any questions, try to just go to the next one, come back, make a note, let me know your question. If you have any comments, if you're like on the fence and there's not a good on the fence category for you and you need to really write a comment, write it. I'm going to read it at some point. It's going to be very helpful, so I really appreciate that. Any questions off the bat? Anything? All right. You guys all should have a packet in front of you, correct? And a pen? All right. If you guys could do me a favor, and just first name is good, fill out this information. Family situation. I might tell you my family situation is that I have a dog, Falcor. I might tell you that I'm a son of my parents, who I think it's actually their 44th, and I forgot to tell them happy anniversary. Whatever your family situation is. Yeah.
Sorry, number of years in the area, where you live?
Sure.
Area.
Yeah. Alrighty. Give you a minute all to finish up here. Alrighty. Christopher, you want to start us off?
Shall I just read my stuff?
Sure. How about I start us off? Name, Brett. Number of years in the area. I'm not from around here. 0. Occupation, I moderate focus groups. Family situation, I'll go with dog Falcor. Favorite type of ice cream, let's go bubblegum. Christopher?
Okay. So I go by Chris. So I'll go
Chris, all right.
Number of years in the area, 26.
Okay.
Occupation, civil engineer.
Okay.
Family, none in town. Single, no pets.
Okay.
Ice cream, raspberry chocolate chip, graders.
Awesome. I like that. Chris, do you mind if I
Underline the Chris part.
get out of there to fur?
Yeah.
Justin?
It doesn't fit on electronic systems.
I'm Justin. I've been in the area 16 years. I'm in outside sales. I'm married with a kitten.
Nice.
And my favorite ice cream is also Grader's, black raspberry chip and cookie dough together.
Serious stuff over there.
All right.
So,
I need to figure out what you guys are talking about and get in there. All right.
Rita, number of years in the area, 22. I'm a school advisor, married with kids, and favorite ice cream, rum raisin.
All right. Marissa?
I'm Marissa. I have lived here all 31 years of my life. I am a teacher. I am the oldest of 4. My parents have been married 38 years, and all 3 of my brothers are adopted and younger.
Oh, cool.
And my favorite ice cream is mint chocolate chip.
Nice. Nancy?
Nancy, I'm here 49 years. I work part-time for a telemedicine company and also manage 13 rental properties, family of 4, married, and black raspberry chip.
Okay. Excellent.
My name is Bob. I've been here most of my life, which is 67 years. Retired from organic chemistry lab and have a girlfriend and like chocolate chip ice cream, but not a big ice cream guy.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough.
I'm Susan. I've been here 56 years. I'm a retired teacher. I'm married. I have 3 adult sons. 2 are married, and I've got 3 granddaughters. And raspberry chocolate chip graders.
What's going on?
Chris knows what's up. All right. Elizabeth?
Elizabeth, 16 years, medical technologist, husband, 3 teenagers. My son's favorite is the black raspberry chip at Grader's, but I like anything chocolate without peanut butter.
Okay. You know they have a happy marriage, so you try them together.
I like them together as Reese's, but not in my ice cream.
All right. All right.
Jay Michael, number of years in the area, 9 years. I'm a drug diversion investigator. I have family situation, married, and ice cream as double vanilla bean.
Okay. Excellent.
Alan, I've been here 9 years. It's actually 5 and 4, but we'll go with that. I'm a driver, ride share, do all sorts of different stuff. Married, have 4 kids at home, 3 grown. And I want to change my answer to black raspberry chocolate chip, but I always seem to pick mint chocolate chip.
All right. Fair enough. Don't worry about this is the last we'll talk about ice cream. It's just an ice cream. So, you don't need to love it or hate it. All right. What we're going to do, I'm going to have you start off, answer some questions for me. When I tell you, what I want you to do is we saved some trees here today. You're going to be turning the page over, and it's the page on the back of the first page that you just wrote on. And I don't want you slipping through to those next pages just yet, all right? So if you guys could flip the page over. and answer 1 through 5 there. We could all take about a minute more to just finish any last thoughts. All right. Could I also ask, I'm going to have my phone on to be getting notes from, but if everybody could turn their phones off, I'd really appreciate it. All right. And now we're just going to, this is where we're all going to have our own opinions. Everybody's right. And we're leaving here in a big high five. All right. So let's start out with number 2. We have in the space provided, what is the most important issue the United States Congress can address that would or could improve the lives of you and your family? Nancy, what do you got there?
Healthcare.
Healthcare? Anything that you'd expand on that, or?
I think that the amount of time and energy going into what we have seen, I think the expenditures on our healthcare is just astronomical.
Okay. Elizabeth, what do you got there?
Healthcare.
Healthcare.
My 19-year-old son, he had a bad reaction to medication, and he had hives from top to bottom, and he was in the hospital for 2 weeks trying to figure out what was going on. They thought it was Steve Johnson syndrome, where your skin just completely sloughs off. Turns out it was just hives, but after 2 weeks in the hospital and a $10,000 deductible, it really, really, really hurts. So something needs to be done about healthcare prices to get them down where it doesn't bankrupt people if their kids are in the hospital.
I'm sorry to hear that. What? Anybody else got one they would like to share with us? Yeah, Marissa.
I said education reform.
Education reform.
Our reliance on standardized testing is absurd in this country. country.
Okay.
My very
I
first,
changed mine.
my very first student teaching job, when I was at OSU, was a first grade class. I was in there. It was called FEED, my first education experience before I really student taught. And I was in there 9 weeks, and those kids, those first graders, had 2 standardized tests in the 9 weeks that I was there. We're not teaching them how to be good citizens. We're not teaching them how. Yes, we're teaching them how to read. And we're teaching them a little bit of math and writing, but we're generally teaching them to take these tests, and it's ridiculous. And it starts, right there in first grade, and it goes all the way up. All of my scholarships were because I'm an excellent test taker. Meanwhile, one of my really best friends in high school, she worked her butt off. We were in orchestra together. We did this, that, and the other. I was the slacker. I graduated with a 3.3 because I did not do homework or anything. I was just charming and did good on tests. And I have full scholarships all over the country. It's stupid.
All right. Let me ask, down here in question 4, we talk about income taxes, the federal income tax system. Anybody put anything to do with taxes? Before you.
First I had healthcare, and then I raised. And then I put income tax when I saw that, and now I wish I had put education.
Okay.
Yeah, I put dissatisfied.
Anybody else have anything to do with maybe taxes?
I wrote down sort of a reduction in I'll just call them entitlement programs for lack of a better word. And I didn't write that down with any thing specific in mind.
Sure.
I'm sure there are some, if not maybe plenty, that are doing great things.
Sure.
But I just think maybe a review of them and saying, is this actually helping and doing what it's supposed to do? And if it's not, maybe it should be changed. And maybe some are really doing well, and they should be the way they are, and that's fine.
Okay. For question 4, are you satisfied or dissatisfied with the current federal income tax system? Show of hands, satisfied. 1, 2, 3, 4. Dissatisfied? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Excellent. Let's move down to question 5. Being as specific as you can, write down what you think is the single biggest problem with the federal tax system in the United States. I want to hear from the folks who are satisfied. Did you put anything down there, even if you're satisfied? Yeah?
Yeah.
What'd you put down, Justin?
I just said that it's still difficult to understand, things like tax credits that you'd be eligible for, maybe ways to maximize or reduce the tax burden on your household, maximize things that you could deduct, or, basically reduce how much they're taking out of taxes. So ways to kind of do that, on your own. It's not really easy to find out on your own how to do that.
Okay.
They always tell you seek professional help. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So,
excellent.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Yep.
Sorry. No,
Kamina?
I didn't put satisfied. I'm sorry.
I was satisfied, but I think the corporate and church tax breaks are a really big issue.
Okay. Excellent. Anybody else? Put satisfied?
I agree with it. I think it's pretty all-encompassing. It's just very hard to understand. There's so many loopholes, and I'm not sure it's really equally fair across the board. It's so hard. You really have to dig into it. And where I'm at today, I don't have to really worry about it anymore, so I haven't really checked into it maybe like I used to.
Okay. Now, anybody else there? Anybody have anything kind of to what Bob was saying, or Marissa, or anything? Yep.
I would love to see a flat tax.
Love to see a flat tax?
I would love to see a flat tax because you know what you have to you make this, you pay that. You get rid of. You shouldn't need an advanced degree to figure out the tax plan. You shouldn't have to spend the amount of time that people do to do their taxes. It's just ridiculous.
All right. Do me a favor now. Let's turn that page over and let's answer these questions.
What is the plan?
No, that's fine. Again, if you guys have questions with these, just take down your notes, and I'd love to hear those when we discuss them. finish up your thoughts within about a minute. Chat. All right. Based on what you know about it, do you favor or oppose the proposed federal tax reform plan? Before anybody answers, can I see hands raised for people that said, I don't know what you're talking about?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure? All right. Well, that leaves you, bud.
Oppose.
Okay. Why?
Right now, there's no bipartisanship in it, and they're taking their best interests to heart and not what actually is the American people's.
The Republicans in Congress.
Yes.
Okay.
They're the ones spearheading it.
Okay. Excellent. Let me ask, if I were to say, hey, there's a proposed federal tax reform plan out there, could you all just take a moment and write what you would like to see included in it? Just write in there on question 6 or 7. How about in favor? How about if you didn't write anything, put that in favor. What would you like to favor? What would you like to see? It would just be a word or a theme or an idea. All right. I'm just going to shoot around the room real quick. Alan, we'll start with you this time. What did you put down that you'd like to see in there?
Some form of simplification like flat rates or switch to like a Canadian GST or a national sales tax.
Okay. All right. J. Michael?
Same thing, flat tax based on income, removal of the corporate loopholes in offshore accounts, moving money offshore to Ireland.
Okay.
So it avoids taxes.
All right. Elizabeth?
Decrease loopholes for both high-income individuals and corporations and flat tax.
All right. Susan?
Simplify the process in general.
Okay. Excellent. Bob?
So I see simplify and bipartisan, fair across the board, and also there's so much backbiting and bickering in Congress. If they could just get on one page, try to cooperate and come together as Americans and try to work for the best for the country, which I just don't think this country's in the position these days with Congress and the president and senators. There's so much division and strife. How can you get anything done?
Okay. Excellent. Nancy?
Flat tax.
Flat tax. Marissa?
Said an increase in the tax rate for large corporations. Go ahead and start taxing the churches and give better deductions for young families and for college students.
Great. Amina?
I put fair, excuse me, for each category or individual family, like make sure that whatever they decide to tax, whatever the income is per family, not everybody shouldn't have to pay the same or have the same deductions.
Okay.
So just fair across the board.
Fair across the board. Okay. And let me ask you, give me an example of what is fair across the board for somebody that makes $1 million and somebody that makes $20,000.
I think a percentage. So based on your income.
Okay. And is it the same percentage for the person that makes?
No, and that's what I mean by, for lack of a better word, fair meaning depending on what you make. You as a family or you as an individual, you should be able to pay this much as a percentage, and it would vary based on income.
Okay, excellent. Justin?
I just added increased tax breaks for their people with student loans.
Student loans? Okay, excellent. Chris?
Yeah, I think there has to be a way to make education more affordable. I don't agree with taxing the churches. I think simplifying the process.
Excellent.
Thoughts?
Excellent, excellent. All right, let's turn this page over. Now, on this next one, I'm just going to have you circle some of these agree disagrees for me. But I want you to think about them because we're going to come back and I'm going to ask you to do something else. So don't just willy-nilly agree or disagree. Think about it for a moment because I'm going to have you come back and do something. So go ahead, agree, disagree with the following statements, A through I. You can just circle them. Maybe another minute or so. Finish that. All right, now I would like you to do me a quick favor. Next to what you guys have for agree, I want you to throw a star next to the one that you adamantly agree with, and then just give me a sentence of why you adamantly agree with that, and then the inverse, arrow down, thumbs down, whatever, to something that you might disagree with, and why you adamantly disagree with it. You can just
for one of the items.
Just for one of the items. Put a star next to one of an item, put an arrow down next to one item, and then in this bottom part, just give me the brief sentence of why. You put the star and the thumbs down. All right, we can finish up in about a minute. All right. Which one of these questions did somebody star? Anybody? Somebody want to start us off?
I did
Alan,
B.
you starred B. Anybody else star B? Alan, what'd you put down for B? Why'd you? Oh,
no, I didn't start. Sorry.
Oh.
I agreed.
You agree? Okay. Why'd you star B there?
Tax
Alan?
practices are just spaced too far apart. They don't mesh well with the federal poverty level guidelines based on family size. In fact, I don't even think family size has much to do with taxes at all, and it probably should.
Okay.
You know, I've got a ton of kids, so it makes things a little more difficult.
Sure. Okay. Excellent. Anybody else agree with something they starred? They question they starred? Wouldn't mind speaking to it. Marissa, which one did you start?
I starred G.
Anybody else starred G? As agree? Bob? All right.
Start G as well.
Chris also starred G? All right. Marissa, why'd you start G?
I feel like it's common sense that if we give people the funds, then we're able to jumpstart our own economy. However, I feel like it's just common sense, but I do think as long as the tax rates are fair or capped, as in, a 10-year maximum for you to claim all these tax breaks, and then you go to a more logical tax, or like a 500,000 employee maximum, and then once you exceed that, then you start paying more for your tax.
Chris?
Yeah, I think a more fair amount. I don't think we want to give a great amount of tax break, but I don't know what the right answer is when you talk about a company wanting to move jobs overseas or not hire as many. I don't know those business kind of questions. But
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Bob?
I just agree with the same thing. It's if you have jobs and people working, and it's going to create, you'll be able to pay the taxes and you'll be able to afford.
Okay. Excellent. Anybody adamant about their thumbs down here? Anybody have one that Alan, nod your head. Yeah, what do you got?
Here.
D. Anybody else have a thumbs down for D? Elizabeth, Susan, Chris.
Yep.
All right. Alan, why are you thumbs down in D?
I feel the statement answers its own question. The companies would not choose to create jobs. They would choose to automate things, invest in capital, and pay bonuses to executives.
Okay. Excellent. Elizabeth?
I basically said that the money would go straight to the executive salaries, not back into the business. You need to cap executive salaries like they do in Europe.
Okay. Sus?
I just said it, how substantial,
Okay.
how big of a cut are you talking about?
Okay. Sure. Chris?
Yeah, I think it ties into my other response. Of course, there's substantial, it's not quantified, so I don't know.
Sure. Certainly. Okay, excellent. Does anybody have anything else before we turn the page here that they'd like to mention on this one?
Spelling mistakes.
Yep.
Besides stats?
I did have one other question on H.
Yeah.
Who is the we? Is that Congressman Trump, or is that just everyone in general?
That's your interpretation.
Okay.
All right. Let's actually cross out please turn page on the next one. Let's not turn the page just yet. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to favor oppose. What we're going to do, read these, circle them, and be thinking in your head, if one kind of stands out at you, give it a star, or give it a thumbs down, or whether you favor or thumbs down if you oppose. And then maybe you could just put that sentence down kind of while you're answering these. You might do it, you might just keep it in the back of your mind and go through and make sure that that's the one, and we're not going to turn this page over, so we're just going 1325. Excellent. All right, if everybody could finish up here. All right, so what we have here are some different statements about some things that are being talked about being included in the tax reform proposal. So I just, if you're favoring a lot of these, then you're probably favoring some of the tax reform proposal. If you're opposing this, you're probably opposing some of the tax reform proposal. Let's start with favor. Anybody put a star next to something that they really favored in the proposed tax reform proposal? Kamina, what are you favoring? What number?
I had number 19, which goes back.
Did anybody else have 19? Nancy? All right, Kamina?
This is kind of what I was talking about in the previous question. Well, one of the previous questions about making it fair across the board, the percentages. I mean, I don't know what the 1025, who it belongs to.
Sure.
But this kind of sounds like what I was kind of getting at
in
my last question.
Nancy?
Well, that's, as a flat tax for whatever income bracket you're in, you pay that tax. I mean, I'm all for that.
Okay. So the tax...
I don't know if it would be those exact numbers.
Sure, but if the tax reform proposal, it includes those three tax brackets, you guys are in favor of that. Okay. Anybody else star anything that they felt that they really favored?
I had one here on 20.
Number 20. Anybody else star 20? All right, Alan, what do you got?
This was for the tax rate of wealthy corporations eliminating, and I'm hoping that has to do with all the offshore accounts and other things. I'm just wondering what Florida has to do with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't understand what the question was asking.
All right. Don't worry about that. That's my apologies. You're going to see that somewhere else too. Apologies. I just realized that. All right. Anybody else star anything here? So they saw something here that they go, hey, if they're talking about that in the new tax reform. Marissa, what do you got?
Well, I started 25 because the simplicity is going to help a lot of families who may not fully understand their deductions. People who can't afford to go to H&R Block to get it done.
Okay. So I'm gonna read it. Okay, I'm going to read this one. So the current tax code includes multiple tax benefits for families, each with its own rules, eligibility criteria, and calculations. The tax reform proposal consolidates these into two simpler benefits, a larger standard deduction and an enhanced child and dependent tax credit. Okay, so the new tax reform proposal that they're talking about includes this. J. Michael, why do you like that? Simplification. Justin?
I like it because it's a bigger standard deduction, so that's going to increase how much you get to take home at the end of everything.
All right. Anybody else? All right. So we're talking about the tax reform proposal. Now, you've read a handful of things about the tax reform proposal, and we talked about some of the things that you may favor. What about oppose? What do we got for oppose? Marissa, what number?
I only oppose number 19.
You oppose number 19.
Yeah.
Did anybody else oppose 19? All right, we got Susan, Elizabeth, and Alan. So you opposed 19.
Yes.
Why is that?
I think those numbers are way too far apart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a
Between
lot
10 and
of
25.
that's a lot of disparity, and then especially if it like caps at 35%. Like say 35% starts if you make $500,000 a year, and then it just goes on and on. Like it's just not fair. Like there's no way that that's going to be even.
So would you like to see
A wider,
more?
yes, smaller brackets, and it can extend a little higher.
All right, Susan.
I just thought the 10 to 25 seemed like an awfully large jump.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, they need something between 10 and 25, and I agree having another one go up a little bit higher.
Okay, Alan.
Same thing. Depends on where the splits are, and that's a pretty big jump.
Okay, so maybe you would like to see like 4 or 5 of those percent. Kamina, let me ask you. This was one that you had favored. What if there was 5 tax brackets there?
I didn't necessarily think that these were going to be
The numbers,
yeah.
right?
I was just saying that I liked it because it gave.
You make
some,
X, you pay
right.
Y.
This is, I agree with what they're saying as far as the
Sure.
percentages being very wide, but something like this to me would be good.
Okay.
Not in these numbers.
All right. Anybody else have anything that they oppose in the tax reform bill? 16. Anybody else have 16? What do you got there, J. Michael?
It wouldn't benefit a majority of the population.
The tax reform proposal cuts taxes on saving and investment by allowing families and individuals to deduct 50% of the dividends, capital gains, and interest received from stock and mutual funds. So you just don't think that this is something that's going to affect many of the families involved?
No, it wouldn't, considering most hedge fund managers, I mean, they make less than $500,000, but on their dividends, they're making at least $10 million.
Okay.
So in effect, they would be paying 25% tax rate, and then they can take 50% of their dividends, so they'd pay 13% on $10 million, even though they had to pay 25% on their actual salary.
Okay.
It's the dividends that they're getting the biggest break on,
All right.
which is actually the most increase that they're getting.
Nancy, what did you oppose?
Actually, number 23.
23. By growing jobs and businesses, the tax reform proposal will create more opportunity for all Americans, but especially those stuck on welfare or in need of more and better work, to lift themselves and their family out of poverty and up the economic ladder. Why do you oppose this?
I guess I oppose it because people on the welfare aren't paying any taxes as it is. I don't believe that they're going to benefit from any other jobs. What they need is education and trade skills to get them into the workforce, not necessarily any more tax benefits, because they're not paying anything anyway.
Okay. Anybody else adamant about something that they favor or oppose here?
I had oppose on 15.
Oppose on 15. Did anybody else have oppose on 15? The tax reform proposal maintains as tax deductions the interest on home owner mortgages, charitable giving, and retirement savings.
Yeah, I don't have that for the charitable giving because it should be tax free. But as far as retirement savings and home mortgages, there's a lot of people that have retirement savings, they're not homeowners.
Okay.
So that doesn't really help the bulk of the population, the renters, the people who don't have a home at all.
Sure.
Things like that. I've been in all those situations. So.
Okay, excellent. Let us turn the page now. Now we're learning more about the tax proposal plan here that we all said we didn't know from the jump, from the start. All right, let's do the same thing here, 27 through 35. You all with me on this? We lose Chris? Oh, sorry.
We lost 28.
No, I was making sure.
Sorry. We lost 28. Don't worry about 28.
Oh.
Don't worry about that little guy.
Who's counting?
433.
Nope, don't worry about those guys. Or where it says Florida. All right, take another minute or so to finish up. All right, let's talk about questions that we start. Anybody favor anything about this tax reform proposal? Anybody star anything on this 27 through 35? Marissa, what did you star? What question number?
29, because I know how difficult it is to deal with the IRS. Someone stole my Social Security number, filed taxes as me, and I owed the IRS that year, and I had to jump through so many hoops to prove who I was to pay them $2,000. And then, like, the state of Michigan, because whoever was, I guess, lived in Michigan, I had to deal with that. And I'm like, I've never even been there. So, like, can we, I mean, it's just, it's ridiculous the amount of people that you have to talk to, and the burden of proof that's on, us, especially when you know they get a copy of your W-2s from your employer.
So you're in favor of redesigning the IRS?
Absolutely.
All right. Anybody else?
I would agree with that 100%. My identity was stolen as well, and it was amazing how much time and effort it took to get it straightened out.
Okay.
I couldn't even go. I went down to the IRS building, and you stand in line, and then they say we're closing, and you got to walk out and go back again. You can't carry on a job and do it at this.
Okay. Excellent. What else? Anybody else star anything? Alan, you raised your hand. What question number?
I started to start 32, but I'm really starting 34.
You're 34. You're a big fan of 34. This new tax reform proposal, would eliminate the death tax so that the loss of a family member will no longer result in paying additional tax on top of what took a lifetime to earn. Anybody else star that 34? Elizabeth, anybody else? All right, Alan, why so?
Oh, that one just makes me so mad I couldn't even draw a star straight. You work your whole lifetime, you earn money, you get your retirement together, you pass away, your children are looking at things, and the lawyer's sitting around the table, and they're like, okay, well, we thought he had a decent amount for you, but you guys are getting $50 a piece after the taxes and the lawyer's fees and cremation and everything else. So it would just make a whole lot of sense not to pay taxes after you're dead. You got to pay it the whole time you're alive. Just stop already.
All right, Elizabeth?
Pretty much the same thing. I mean, you shouldn't penalize somebody for earning and saving money in case they needed it.
All right.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Doesn't the current rate of death tax kick in at $5 million?
I don't know what it kicks in, but it just says eliminate it. Yeah.
But unless you're under $5 million, there isn't a tax.
Or you own a farm.
Well, that might be. Yeah.
Okay. What else did anybody else star anything? Anybody feel?
I started 27.
27.
Yeah.
The tax reform proposal will make the income tax code much simpler with improvements like a larger standard deduction because far fewer taxpayers will need to itemize, which means their tax form can go back to one simple page.
Yeah. I just like one page. That's how
Simplification.
Like an easy format.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Simplification. Does anybody disagree with this one? Does anybody disagree with it?
I had a hard time with that one. I really did.
Why is that?
I think with itemizing taxes, people can take what they need when they need it instead of giving a large chunk to everybody. So, like if you do this, you probably will not be able to itemize your house anymore. You will not be able to itemize charitable deductions. Yeah. All that sort of stuff contributing to your retirement plan will go away. So when you're giving a large, I'm looking at all of these, I love it. Yeah. I'm like, how the hell are you going to pay for all of this? Right. So if you give everybody a huge chunk instead of giving littler chunks when it's needed. So I think I put favor, but I was going back and forth on that one a lot.
Okay. Camille?
I didn't oppose it, but I'm questioning what's going to be missed. You know what I mean? Like if you're just making it one page, along the lines of what Elizabeth is saying, what categories are going to be missed?
What are you missing? Okay. Yeah. Excellent. What on this the tax reform proposal did you oppose? Thumbs down, Marissa.
I thumbs down 35 because
35.
I don't trust them to. Oh, sorry.
Okay, Americans regularly learn of large companies that decide to move their headquarters and good-paying jobs to other countries because they can no longer afford to pay sky-high U.S. corporate taxes. You disagree with the statement.
I disagree with the statement. I don't think that they're paying that much, and I don't believe that cutting their rate is going to have them maintain jobs here in the States. Like Sprint, for example, they fired all their U.S. call center. Everything is outsourced. Like I had to call for something, and I spoke to 7 different people, and it was just a nightmare. And I was like, I know that wouldn't have happened if it was still in Houston, Texas, and wherever else they were.
Okay. Did anybody else oppose 35?
Yeah.
All right, J. Michael, Alan, and Christopher. J. Michael?
Same reason, because it's actually all they're doing is moving the actual company to like Ireland or the Caymans or somewhere that has a lower tax rate or no tax rate. Actually, they're not actually losing jobs when it comes to an executive level.
Okay.
But they're still moving their jobs to begin with overseas because it's lower pay. It has nothing to do with taxes. It's just because you can pay people less money.
Okay. Chris, you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always coming at this. I don't know much about how big businesses work. Just don't. But as far as it says, this tax reform proposal addresses the problem. I think there's just so many different things that go along with the problem that
great.
Just trying to deal with it with taxes is not really the answer.
Okay, excellent.
So,
Alan?
Yeah, I have feeling companies would just run an end run around it, and they would be like, okay, well, we're going to keep all our profits offshore, but we'll go ahead and hire a little skeleton crew here in the U.S. to take advantage of what we can.
Okay. We're kind of, where I'm seeing there's different, actually, you know what? Let's take a 1 minute. Everybody, it's late. Let's stand up. Let's shake it out for a minute. Walk it off. Then I'll come back to this. I think we're getting close to done answering questions, and then we'll chat about some answers and then do a mock-up. I think I'm on my third cup of coffee yet tonight. All right. You good? All right. Excellent. All right. So in these last 2 pages, what we did is we looked at a bunch of different pieces of the tax reform proposal. On the bottom of this page that you're still on here, 27 through 13 through 27, 13 through 35. I'm sorry, these 2 pages, 13 through 35. All of these favor, oppose questions, 13 through 35. Do me a favor and find the one that you favor the absolute most out of all of them, and throw it on the bottom of that page that's got 35 on the end. Write the number down and tell me why. It can be similar to the reason why you mentioned it before, but now if you've seen, 30 statements, 15 statements about the new tax reform proposal, you might have an idea of why that one stands out to you. I want to know what piece of the tax reform proposal stands out to you the most. What do you favor the most? And why? I don't necessarily need a question number of what you favor the most, maybe just even the idea of what you favor the most. All right, and then we're going to do the same for oppose. What turns you off to the tax reform proposal? Just the idea. What's something that you oppose? Something that turns you off. I don't necessarily need a question number, just the idea and why it turns you off to the tax reform proposal. minute to finish up or so. All right. Just going to shoot around the room real quick and just give me your kind of favorite topic and why, and your your opposed topic and why. Alan, you want to start us off?
Okay, favored the eliminating the corporate tax breaks to keep money made in this country and not paid out as executive bonuses either. The opposed item was maintain the deductions from the mortgage interest and retirement savings because not everyone has savings or its own.
Okay, excellent. J. Michael?
Overall update and simplification of service and less confusion.
Simplification of service and less confusion.
And then I oppose the continued trust and breaks to the 1% with no regulation or oversight.
Okay, excellent. Elizabeth?
I like the concept of the tax reform delivers a 21st century tax code built for growth of family paychecks, growth of local businesses, and growth of the economy as a whole. I like the idea. Don't know if it's realistic, but
Okay.
I like the idea. And the one I don't like is the 3 brackets of the tax.
You don't like the 3 brackets. Okay. Susan?
I said the simplification, and I thought, in 31, I thought it made a point that this tax code started 100 years ago and it's grown to 70,000 special deductions and privileges. I mean, if that doesn't say we need simplification.
Okay.
And then I just question the large or substantial tax cuts to businesses because I don't think it necessarily means the money is going to be used where it is intended. How's it regulated? What's the oversight?
Okay. Excellent. Bob?
I like for small businesses, I think small businesses are the backbone of America. So anything that benefits small businesses, tax reform, lower taxes, I like. I didn't like 19. I had a problem with the percentage of that. And overall, just simplification of the tax reform would be good.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Nancy?
I like the bracketed system. I'm not necessarily those specific numbers. But I think that a simplification of knowing exactly what you're paying at a certain income level.
Okay.
And 32 is what I opposed as for the pass-through businesses because I think it's too easy to create an LLC and an S corporation, and there's too much abuse for that.
Okay.
So unless they are required as a LLC or S corporation to at least have a minimum number of employees, then I couldn't go with that because it's too much. That's abuse written all over it for individual.
Okay. Marissa?
The one that still stands out to me is 25, which is simplifying for the family deductions with this larger standard deduction, and then simplifying the family dependent deductions, because I think that there are still too many people who don't quite know how to help themselves get those deductions correctly. Like, I had a friend telling me something that sounded absurd about her parents didn't know about taxes, which I'm like, really? Like, I'm 29 and I know this. And then the one that stuck out to me as the worst was still the brackets, just because I'm stuck on the numbers, which I know that those aren't necessarily real numbers, and they might have just thrown those in there, as a red herring for us. But I just can't get over the fact that they would propose a jump that deep.
Let me ask you, everybody that's talking about these numbers, what if this tax reform proposal consolidates the tax system down to 3 tax brackets? Let's say I left the numbers out of there. What would you think of it then?
It'd still be worse. Like, it's still just as bad because, where do we start? Do we start from, $10,000 to $100,000? And we start from, because 10% of $100,000 is a lot more, or, is a lot less of a burden on someone than 10% of $20,000. I mean, it doesn't sound like, it's like, oh, well, it's only $2,000, but to someone who's only making that much, it's a lot.
Okay.
So I think that 3 brackets still is not right because we don't know where those numbers are going to fall.
Okay. Excellent. Kamina, what do you favor? What do you oppose?
Favored 29 in a nutshell is willing to get questions answered quicker, more understandable. I just like basic stuff.
Okay.
And then I opposed, actually the latter part of 35, about the foreign companies. So I said I was just questioning, was it really going to be beneficial to the United States for foreign companies to actually relocate here? I wasn't sure if that would even be beneficial for us. Like, how do they know?
Okay. Excellent. Justin?
I like the idea of a larger standard deduction. I like the idea of keeping your taxes simple, the process of doing your taxes, keeping that simple. I most disliked increasing the percentages that can be claimed on dividends and investments, like your retirement. I think that's not really a solution to the fact that you're taxed twice on your retirement. I think they need to figure out something else for that.
Excellent. Chris?
Let's see. I think I just favored 17. I mean, I think just the general concept is a positive.
Okay. 17.
Growth for families pay taxes.
Okay, great. 17. All right.
Let's see. So for 27 was the opposed. It's kind of, I think, after listening to what Elizabeth said, made sense and the idea of by having some. I mean, maybe there's a lot of complexity that obviously everybody's talking about simplifying, and I agree with that. But I think that having those itemization possibilities does encourage people to have a little bit more freedom of choice about what they want to do with their money. And if it was just all the same kind of for everybody, then there'd be kind of nothing to give you some incentive from that.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Let us flip now this page over. Based on what you know about it, do you favor or propose the proposed federal tax reform plan? So we've been talking about some issues going in there, what we favor, what we oppose. Overall, I'd like to try to get you into one of those 2 buckets of favor or oppose. If it depends, I'd love to know why. Same with unsure. Let's keep refused out of this. Let's go depends or unsure. And then if you could throw a sentence in there of whether you favor or whether you oppose. finish up our thought here within the next minute or so. All right, let's do a show of hands, if you guys don't mind. Based on what you know about it, do you favor the proposed federal tax reform plan? Let's go with number one, favor. Who favors? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 favor. And who opposes? 1. All right. Who is depends? 1, 2. All right. And unsure? Excellent, Elizabeth. All right. In favor. We'll go around the room. If you were in favor, could you just give me the brief reason why? We'll start with whoever was in favor.
That's right. I just said that most of the options proposed would genuinely benefit the current tax system. I mean, basically any changes I think are good. If nothing changes, if it doesn't pass, then nothing changes, and this system isn't that great.
Chris, were you in favor?
Yeah, that's favor.
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, I just would agree. I mean, I think there's ways that a lot of those items could be, as long as they're done right, could be positive for it.
Okay, excellent. Who else was favor? We're going around. Nancy?
Favor a simpler plan that eliminates the loopholes and amount of time and effort it takes to do the taxes. That being said, I also believe you need to raise enough money to decrease the deficit and continue running the programs.
Okay. We'll keep going around with the favor opposed here in just one moment. I've heard the word loopholes tonight a few times. Could you do me a favor? Raise your hand if you've said loopholes tonight. All right? Great. Nancy, what do you mean by loopholes?
The various ways that people can get around taxes to eliminate paying some taxes.
Okay, you're thinking about people getting around that. Bob?
That's right.
Elizabeth?
People of corporations.
You're thinking corporations?
Both.
You're thinking both? Jay?
Citizens United, corporations are people. That's part of the problem.
Okay.
That's part of the problem. It's the representation as well as the loophole being is you can create a LLC or a shell company in another country and move your profits there and not be taxed one penny.
Okay. All right. We're still going around the room with favor. Who next was favor? Bob?
Anything to streamline the already complicated system, make it fair across the board would be great. Hopefully that's what the idea behind this is. If it is able to really accomplish that goal, that'd be great.
Okay. Susan?
I said I like the idea of simplification, but I put depends because we keep saying we don't like the 10, 25, 35. Is that really what's in there?
Oh, okay. I apologize.
If it's in there, then...
I apologize for coming to you on depends. I'm still on favor. I'm coming back to you on depends.
Okay, well, that's why I was...
Anybody else here on favor? Alan?
I favor it as a whole, just again, because like other people have said, any change at this point would be good.
Any changes.
But as long as it requires checks and balances on the corporate side and maybe some more intermediate brackets, what From has seen today versus prior news I've read about it is definitely a step in the right direction.
Step in the right direction. All right, oppose. We're going around. Jay, oppose. You're starting us off. We're going this way this time.
As presented, not enough support for Americans and too much corporate benefit as already abused system.
Okay. Oppose? Oppose? Anybody else oppose? All right. Depends. Marissa?
I said that there's too much uncertainty in this. They're very vague terms that sound fantastic, but it could just be we want to hear like the way I thought Bernie Sanders' whole campaign was, but I digress, versus what could actually be accomplished.
Sure.
So I have zero faith in the government to get it completely right, and I know that nothing will ever be completely right, but I don't trust them to do what's right for the majority of us.
Okay. Anybody else? Depends?
I would sort of agree with that to a degree because there's so much division in the government and that you really have a hard time trusting politicians. If there were statesmen in there, it'd be great, and that's sort of digressing too, but But I don't see a lot of people really coming together, trying to really get together and do what's best for this country, which is really not the same country I grew up in.
Okay, excellent. Susan,
I just thought, like on 29 and 30 when they were talking about redesigning the IRS into a modern and efficient 21st. Sounds all great on paper.
Right.
Do we know one government, entity that's ever done that? It sounds great there, but, how is this? I guess I need to know how are they going to do what they're proposing here.
Sure.
Just need a little bit more information, which is why I did the defense.
You bet. All right, so what we're going to do now is you guys have whether or not you're in favor or you oppose and why you are on the fence and whatnot. I would like, in this back here, ad creation. What I'd like us to do first is, for your own reason, start it out with your own reason. Think of if you were to be sold the tax reform. If somebody was going to come to you and say, hey, listen, I need your support for the tax reform proposal. What do they need to convince you of? What do they need to tell you? If you could put it in a 30-second ad, if you could create that ad in favor of the tax reform proposal based on everything we've talked tonight about, what does that ad look like? What does it say to you? What's the message? What's the theme? And this is, regardless if you favor or oppose at this point, I want to know your idea of what you need to be told in an ad, in a message, from the White House, right? This is a tax reform proposal that's coming from Donald Trump's office. So some of you guys are going to say, listen, I might not trust Donald Trump or his office or Congress, or, it's got to pass through Congress. This is going to be going through Congress. What is it that you need to hear to say, all right, you know what? That's fair. Be it an individual. You could think of it and you go, you know what? I like Tom Cruise. I have no idea why I just came up with Tom Cruise. I like Tom Cruise, and whatever Tom Cruise says, I listen to. If you put Tom Cruise in front of a television screen and you were telling me that this new tax plan was going to be more simple, whatever it might be, that's what I want you to write down here. Just take a couple minutes. Think about how you would sell this to yourself.
Is this an ad or a tweet?
It's an ad. This is 30 seconds.
170 characters.
140 characters.
I'll give you guys a hint. You can squeeze about 75 words into a 30-second ad. So this can't be too long. This is just a brief theme of 75 words. Just take a moment. I'll be right back. your thoughts here. All right, who wants to start us off? Who wants to tell us their ad, what they would need to see? Anybody? Marissa, we're starting at you. We're going around the room towards Kamina because that's who raised your hand up.
All right.
Marissa, what's your ad look like? What are we talking about?
I would honestly just have a detached voice, black screen. I don't want to see a person. I want them to say, this is going to save Americans who make this much money, this much dollars in taxes. I would say this eliminates this much amount of corporate tax breaks for companies of this size and this revenue. And then I would say please visit whatever website for a full breakdown of what's included as well as the sponsors of the bill and the reform plan.
Perfect. All right.
I didn't get that deep.
No, that's fine.
I think if I wanted to visualize it, I would prefer my ad on a postcard.
Okay.
But anyway, it would say something like, you matter, speaking to the people.
Okay.
Your concerns, your opinions, your suggestions matter. We want to hear those so that we can re-examine the proposed federal tax reform plan and implement changes to benefit you. Basic to the point.
Keep it to the person.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it to the individual.
Yes.
Justin.
I would start with just saying it's a simplified tax code, making it simpler to get your taxes done. It's less steps, less time, easier to understand why and what you're doing with your taxes, removing a lot of the hassles and getting your taxes done. It's a streamlined process that's backed by the support you need when it's needed.
Chris.
Yeah, I'm not good at this, but I was going to say something to the effect of, well, I'm not worried about the media in terms of what postcard.
Sure.
Just kind of, strong. I think a strong country starts with the local community. So something to say, not just keep more of your paycheck, but just keep more money local, where it can do good with small business and all those kinds of things. I don't know. That's way too long. But
No, that's perfect. No, that's absolutely perfect. That is what we're looking for. Alan.
I started out thinking, okay, the IRS, now presented by J.G. Wentworth, it's your money, get it back when you need it, but as you got here, you work hard to provide for your family and pay plenty of taxes. Corporations take advantage of tax breaks and don't pay their fair share. Bring balance back to the tax code. Eliminate the loopholes. Make it simple for you to fill out. Get your refund quickly. Businesses will be responsible to contribute in kind, and everybody pays something.
Jake.
But change is a process that we all face. We grow older, we age. Change is inevitable. Our tax system is outdated and has failed to change. We will update the system. We will remove barriers and implement new benefits and still support our national growth. Simplification and equality is paramount.
That's great. I'm taking notes, but I think I'll just use that as that's perfect. That is perfect. All right, Elizabeth?
Simplified tax rates for all individuals and families, decrease corporate tax rates with increased regulation on where the savings goes. However, we'll keep the same spending for U.S. departments and we'll decrease the deficit by X% by 2000 whatever.
Sure.
Because that's my concern is all of this means where does the money come from?
Okay. Excellent. Susan?
I didn't have it quite that way. I was just looking at terms.
No, that's great.
Fairness and equality, closing loopholes for wealthy and corporations, simplifying an antiquated system, and protecting your savings retirement.
Perfect. Well,
In a nutshell, I put this as a bipartisan tax reform coming from both the Republican and Democratic Party to simplify and streamline the current tax system. Our genuine goal is to make it a fair and simple tax code, a practical common sense reform of the current tax code system.
Okay, excellent. Nancy?
I just think the ad needs to include how's the simplicity along with how it will affect the average taxpayer at all income levels, how companies are affected, and how it will affect the bottom line of paying for government programs.
Okay, excellent. Does anybody have any closing thoughts on this? Anything that's kind of been sticking in their mind? I know that we started out kind of talking about ice cream, and we ended up writing an ad for an ad creation for tax reform. Is there anything that's like when you guys go home tonight, you're gonna be besides sleep? Are you gonna be thinking, maybe when your head hits that pillow, like, you know what, that's what stuck out to me about that focus group? Anything in particular? Anything that's you might not have thought about prior to this in terms of tax reform, but now you're maybe thinking about? Maybe that's something I need to look into.
No proposal.
I'm just waiting to see how it really shakes out, because like I said, so much of this sounds fantastic, but it's not possible. There's absolutely no way, and I know I'm just, disaffected millennial youth or whatever, but I have absolutely no faith in this.
This is bipartisan.
Exactly, and even if you want to say bipartisan, they are all purchased. I know lobbyists, I know too many political people.
Nothing's bipartisan anymore.
They're all working for the same people. They're all getting the same money. It's just, I put a D by my name, I put an R by my name, but we're both getting the money from this insurance company, that corporation. I just don't trust the government at all. I believe that they are throwing these labels in our faces to say, oh, no, see, look, we're the Democrats, we care about you. The Republicans only care about money, and the Republicans are like, hey, we're about the strong America, blah, blah, blah. No, you guys are all basically the same. I don't trust you guys to get this done. I would rather see a group of independent, accountants or somebody.
It's bipartisanship is great.
There's too much money in politics for this to work out for someone like me who's making $50,000 a year. It's not going to work.
The problem is this is what we have, though.
I know.
I'm just worried about, because I don't know much about corporations, so I don't understand the corporate regulations and the corporate wordings. So when you get a bill like this, there's no way that I can understand how the corporations will truly be affected by it. I can understand how I will, but I can't understand how the corporations will. So when I look at a bill like this, I'm like, okay, it sounds good for me, but I can't address how if corporations, and I believe that corporations will be positively affected by this because they're the ones who are really giving the money to the politicians who are doing this. Yeah. So that's what I'm afraid of, is I don't know enough to really understand what this bill is going to say in terms of corporations.
If somebody said this right here, this one pager, and these 16 bullets is our new tax reform proposal. You can
that's a proposal. That's not the actual language.
Or,
so you can put anything in.
What if that was the bill? What if somebody came up to you?
Hundreds of pages in a bill.
Right.
No.
That's not realistic. You can't come down to 16 bullet points for a tax bill. You can't come down to 16 bullet points for anything. But see, and the problem is when you look at the bill, all you're given is the sound bites. You really don't know what it is. So that's why I'm just really nervous when you do something as big and as major and, as a tax bill. It's all encompassing all across the U.S. So to me, if you don't trust the politicians, you can't trust this bill. So honestly, I would probably vote it down just because I don't understand what's in it.
Sure.
In case it could be worse, because it could very easily be worse.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And kind of along those lines is we have this understanding of what the proposal is based off of this, but I'd be curious to see how it actually ends up when it's time to vote on it.
This thing's going to be like 300 pages long.
Possible sit there right there.
Any other thoughts?
I just because what I do, I read most of the bills that go through the House that get signed off in law when it comes to current drug diversion and opioid bills that went through. So it is confusing, but that's what I do. It's also down. I'll read the entire thing to just so I have an understanding, because for us to enforce it, you have to understand it. And I think that's the thing. If you guys sit down and read it, but it doesn't really matter. It's like people are saying, it's already bought and paid for. So, unfortunately.
I actually have an unrelated comment. My wife and I keep joking that they need to turn House Representatives into a jury duty and just have regular people do that. That would solve a lot of issues.
Yeah, there you go.
Because you're stuck there for 4 years and you're out.
6 months at a time.
Oh my gosh.
2 sessions.
Oh, no, I want 4 years of their health insurance.
No, you get it for life.
Oh, that's right.
Thank you all so very much. I appreciate it. More so than my words can say thank you. Make sure you see the front desk on your way out. Please do not forget to do that. Thank you. Please just leave those. I'm going to steal them from y'all. Leave everything as is, and I appreciate it, everybody. Thank you so much. You can steal the name tag. I just want the package.
No, I want you to know I was here.
Yeah, the other room I knew where the AC button was. I didn't see that in here. Perfect.
Must have shut down early.
Would you found them, Mother?
Excuse me.
You guys have just like a little, just like a little folder, nothing special. Just like
Give me no folder or what?
anything like that. Yeah, anything that would separate these papers from the other. Just no folder. Something like that, but I could steal from this one. Another folder would be great. That would be perfect. That's perfect.
Here you go. It's dirty, so that means it must have went well.
Yeah, well, you know,
They claimed it was because they were good.
they were.
They think so.
I usually let out. It's usually 150. I got them in there.
Yeah, you were a little over.
You got them in there pretty early.
bad on didn't make a mess or anything. Like it come back here tomorrow. Would you like one of the croissants, like the croissants that we serve? For the croissants? Are you hungry? No?
No, I'm doing good. I'm doing excellent.
You can eat it, children.
You sure?
Yep. We got some more group here tomorrow. And
where do I put this cup?
In my hand.
Perfection.
Yeah, things for you to sign if you don't mind.
Absolutely will. Those guys get out of here okay?
Oh, yeah.